everybody. This is Ryan McClanahan with HistoryThroughCards.com. I hope you're all doing very well today, and I hope you all had a great 4th of July, and it's been a really great summer so far. And honestly, I'm looking forward to the National. I'm going to try to put out a few more videos before that time, and I will be at the National this year, and I look forward to seeing maybe some of you guys and shaking your hands as well, and it should be a really fun time there too. I haven't been to Atlantic City in quite some time. I think the first time I was in Atlantic City at the National was '03, and it was just something that I'll never forget. And I know that if you guys have ever gone to the National, like I'd love to hear your stories down below. So anyway, today I really want to talk to you guys about um, this gentleman right here. This is Willie Hoppe, and he's probably the world's greatest billiards player. In fact, let's try that one again. In fact, Billiards Magazine ranked him as the #1 greatest billiards player of the 20th century, and for very good reason. I'm going to tell you a little bit about his championship wins at the end of this. And in fact, this is a 1910 T218 Mecca cigarettes, and it's not a difficult card at all. Uh, well, put that into perspective, it's over 100 years old. However, um, you can find this card, and it's not that expensive. In fact, Alfred Diorio is also in this set too, and he's also in the Hall of Fame. He actually got in the Hall of Fame, I believe, in 1966, and he passed away in 1959. And I think he's got 51 or 52 championships under his belt, but he had been playing, I believe, since 1906 to 1952 for a very, very long time. He actually does have two cards in this particular set, and I'll show you the other card right here. And it is this right here. I'm not sure which one I actually like better. In fact, I actually like both of them. And I'll show you guys a better photo of this card. And he actually has three cards that I know of. He might actually have more, but for now, I know that he's got the two in the T218 set from 1910, and then he's got a 1934 Gaudi Sport Kings as well. And I really love the sport. I love billiards. I've been playing billiards all throughout high school and into college. And um, while I don't have a pool table, I never pass up a chance to play pool anytime I get the chance. I am not as good as Willie Hoppy here, but I do love the sport quite a bit. And for me personally, uh, I kind of rank the sport probably somewhere near boxing and baseball for me personally. If I'm going to play it, collecting billiards cards is not really the easiest thing in the world, especially the Hall of Famers. Try to pick up some Hall of Famers in billiards if you can. I think it's a great challenge. He's not really that difficult, as I said, and you can find these cards. They're pretty cheap. In fact, I think you can pick them up for about $20, and this is actually a really great starter set for anyone who wants to get into vintage. And there's a lot of again a lot of boxers in this set too, which have their own following. And if you really want to go into vintage boxing, that would probably be your best bet right there. And then you can branch out into all sorts of different avenues as well. With that, guys, I'm gonna read a couple of articles about Willie Hoppy, and again, Uh, I'll meet up with you guys at the very end of it. Chicago Tribune, April 2nd, 1922, by Maud Martin Ellis. Yoo-hoo, Willie! Come on out. Sounds made by small boys calling, whistling, and screeching outside the billiard parlor of a small hotel in the town of Cornwall-on-the-Hudson, New York, 27 years ago. A man with a spotless apron tied about his midriff dashes out of a doorway into the hot sunlight of an otherwise quiet summer afternoon, scatters the noisy group, and forbids them to disturb his son. Inside the hotel, in the billiard room, is a tow-headed youngster 7 years of age, earnestly clambering around and over a billiard table, flourishing a cue longer than himself. That boy was Willie Hoppe. His father not only owned and operated the hotel, but being a keen sportsman and an ardent devotee of the game of billiards, spent his odd moments instructing his son Willie in the fine points of the game. Willie's improvement each time he essayed to direct the ivories was so remarkable that his father began to take particular pains in teaching him. When before many months had passed, Willie could beat the local talent, hope and firm conviction sprang into the father's soul that his small son would become the future champion of the world. From that instant Father Hoppe ordered a strict routine of living which Willie obeyed faithfully and willingly. Except when school was to be attended, the program for Willie day in and day out was a sensible diet, unending practice at the billiard table, and exercise, breathing exercises, walking and swimming, dinner, early to bed. Results came quickly. Before Willie had reached the age of 11, he won his first match, his rival being Al Taylor, the great shortstop. Willie won by a score of 300 to 207. How sweet was that thrill within Willie's little ribs, but how much greater was his father's chest expansion. The next big moment came in Willie's 16th year, when he sailed for Paris, accompanied by his parents and his little sister, to compete with the master billiard players of Europe. His father had to post a forfeit $500. Money was not as plentiful as it might have been. Among the field of matured, well-seasoned experts, the spindling youth of 16 was treated with polite scorn. Quote, "They claimed," says Hoppe, "that my age was much against me, that it was not skill which counted so heavily as long experience. They shook their heads and chuckled their tongues." End quote. With a reminiscing smile, Hoppe continued, "They played with intermissions there during an evening's climb towards 500 points, and at the end of the first intermission my opponent's score was 268 to my 231. At the end of the second intermission I had my 500 and my opponent 300. He was hailed as a 16-year-old prodigy. 2 years later, Willie returned to Paris to compete for the World's Championship, and this time his father entrusted him to the care of his older brother Frank. So at 18, Willie won that championship and held it for 16 years. If the taste of his latest defeat at the hands of Schaefer was bitter, Willie Hoppe concealed it with true sportsmanship and yielded the palm to Schaefer with a smile and compliment. Of Schaefer, Hoppe says, "He is certainly one of the best players. I have no alibi. Alibis never did anyone any good. Sometimes I have had the best of breaks, and other times I have not." Referring to the match at Orchestra Hall, Hoppe explained, "But the fellow in the gallery yelled, 'Shoot!' It did not bother me, as I was absorbed in the game, but I had a muscular contraction in my arm and hand, and I could not let go with my cue when I wanted to." Willie Hoppe is 34 years old today. For 27 years he has rigidly maintained an unvarying daily routine, the routine established by his father long ago, modified only by the seasons. He, with his wife and the two children, live in their cottage in Seagirt, New Jersey, during the summer, where they enjoy swimming each day. Willie's favorite recreations are baseball and football games and track meets. But these sports, as far as active participation is concerned, are forbidden him, as well as golf, or even rowing a boat or paddling a canoe, as he must take great care that his hands retain their flexibility, delicately of touch and sensitiveness, and to guard against their growing callous or rough. Weekdays and holidays, Willie Hoppe has dieted strictly, never smoked, nor has prohibition meant anything in his life, and says for a fellow who doesn't drink, it's pretty hard not to touch candy, for he would naturally crave sweets. He admitted that he ate a large amount of candy the day after his defeat, admitted it with a boyish grin. Hoppy has never had any need for a doctor at his side during any of his matches. His trainer, Charles C. Peterson, was given the task of looking after Willie by Willie's father when Father Hoppy gave it up, and Charles says that he has done his best and that Hoppy is a real man and an honest to good sportsman. I admire Willie more than any man I know, said Peterson. I like him better, too. I like the way he acted in defeat, but he's not defeated yet. Personally, Hoppy is a clean, good-looking blond young chap with very wide open and frank blue eyes. He impresses one as being intimately dependable. He met his wife through friendship, for her brother was George Walsh of movie fame. We eloped, Willie chuckled happily as he spoke of her. His little daughter is 7, and Billy Jr. is 3. Billy's career is not decided upon as of yet, says his father, but it shall be anything except billiards. Alice and her mother have both been taught to play the game by Willie, but they play indifferently well, he states. Mrs. Hoppy is her husband's admiring and sympathetic partner. She is petite, pretty, and charming, and is as fair-haired as Willie. Willie has been asked what he intends to do in the future. First, he allows, I am going to visit in St. Louis, take a good rest, and then I will consider. But I'm not going into the movies. I've had quite enough publicity. Perhaps I may go into the business end of billiards. A last question flung at him as he and his family were bringing trainward for St. Louis was, do you think Schaefer will hold the title as long as you did? Ask him, was Willie's answer. I will, and I'll tell you about the present champion next Sunday. This is the Halstead Independent, Halstead, Kansas, November 4th, 1915. Trains like a fighter, billiard champion goes through movements of athlete. In any game, practice makes perfect, but there remains one of the more essential point after the practice reaches the stage of perfection, and Hoppy adds his physical condition. To some this sounds silly, especially for a billiard star. We know a fighter takes 10-mile road runs daily, that he takes a course of exercising, punches the bag, skips the rope, and otherwise trains himself to take a punch and give a punch. And would you believe that Willie Hoppy goes through almost the identical movements of a great athlete in preparing for a championship billiard match? It's a fact. There you have Willie Hoppy's secret of success. We do not know if Willie is a model man of the neither smokes, drinks, nor chews, but we have it from Robert Benjamin, manager of Willie Hoppy, that Hoppy does not lounge around various billiard halls with a cigarette in his mouth, or plays the cabaret home past the closing hours. Hoppy attributes his success to his daily living, remarked Benjamin, and I tell you he'll be the billiard champion until the day he announces his retirement. They'll never take the crown away from him. He's the master of the field at present. Still, I do not believe that he has reached the zenith of his career. You always find Hoppy practicing, and you'll always find Willie in perfect condition physically. Success for any champion usually causes him to indulge in many of the environments for him, but not Hoppy. Every morning it is a 10-mile walk, part of the way a trot. He takes his rub down and bath, and then it is 4 or 5 hours on a billiard table. He gets the required sleep, and this, with his natural ability, makes Willie the king of them all. Willie Hoppy is an example for the present-day cueists. We have stars of the cue in the field today trailing Hoppy, and in every match they have run second to the champion. Why? You've got to love the sport like a boy to win any championship, says Willie Hoppy. This is from the Evansville Press, Evansville, Indiana, February 8th, 1959. Looking them over with Hap Cloudy. Golden Willie Hoppe. 7 years ago, at the age of 64, Willie Hoppe successfully defended his world title at three cushion billiards. 51 years ago, at the age of 18, Willie Hoppe jolted Gay Paris by winning the world's 18.1 balkline billiard crown from debonair Maurice Vignal, the Lion of France. 8 days ago, at the age of 71, Willie Hoppe died. For longevity and consistency, Willie Hoppe's was a matchless record. No player in any sport, no artist in any field of entertainment had ever held the spotlight so long deservedly. He was the first of an endless flow of boy wonders. Way back in 1906, he was headline copy in the national press. Then Lillian Russell was the toast of Broadway. Jim Jeffries was the heavyweight champion. The Kentucky Derby was worth only $4,850 to Sir Huon. Walter Ecclesall was the most famous football player in the nation. Teddy Roosevelt was the boarder at the White House, and there was a good 5-cent cigar with the name of which escapes me just now. Willie Hoppe belonged to the nation's golden years. He was to billiards what Babe Ruth was to baseball, Jack Dempsey to the prize ring, Bobby Jones to golf, Bill Tilden to tennis, and man o' war to racing. He preceded them, was contemporaneous, and outlasted them. The king-size champion. I met Willie Hoppe on a visit to New Orleans several years ago. There was little interest in billiards, and the sport did not lend itself to king-size production. But Willie Hoppe, an authentic artist, was a king-size champion to Americans. His name was synonymous with championships. On the evening we dined, he was wistfully recalling the days when billiard parlors were carpeted and a man took off his hat before coming in. He acknowledged that billiards were not suited to the tempo of modern times. It lacked the fellowship and conviviality of other modern games and the spectacle and speed of others. There are too many other things for people to do these days. Television, moving pictures, auto and horse racing, Hoppe said. In the days when billiards was a big sport, there were no professional football or basketball to attract youngsters, and professional baseball just happened to be less important. Then billiard was at the top and bowling at the bottom. Now they are reversed. Bowling has well-lighted, well-aired, ornate establishments. Skilled handlers of the cue and chalk numbered in the hundreds of thousands. Skill at billiards was very nearly the requirement of the gentleman. Now it's the martini. He could hit a curve. Wistfully, too, Willie Hoppe recalled his own career and revealed that he had a deep-rooted fondness for baseball that was exceeded only by his love for billiards. But for my hands, I might have been a Major League Baseball player, Willie announced. Not too many people know it, but in high school, I was what you might call a prospect. I played baseball every minute I possibly could. I was a shortstop and could do everything well. Then I began playing billiards, and I was told never to play baseball again. I had to protect my hands. A billiard player must cultivate sensitive hands, like a surgeon. I couldn't take the risk of injury to them. It would ruin my career in billiards. I gave up baseball, and I remember how I cried when I had to put away my glove and my shoes. But 20 years later, I couldn't resist the temptation to play again. John McGraw and I were great friends. I told him of my love for the game, and he invited me to work out with the Giants. I used to sneak down to Florida in the spring and was out with them every day I could manage at the polo grounds. If it wasn't for my hands, I might have been a ball player, but I'll never know for sure, will I? But I could hit a curve. That wouldn't have stopped me. Paris and the Lion. Mark Twain, no mean hand with a cue himself, Willie said, was one of Hoppe's ardent fans and was tableside at many of his matches. President Taft hosted him in the White House in 1911, on which occasion Willie trimmed the fashionable Nicholas Longworth in a match that carried national importance. Willie Hoppe was 18 years old then. This was his greatest thrill, I asked. No, he answered briskly. The greatest event of my career was my victory over Maurice Vignal of Paris in 1906. Vignal was a hero, and he was called the French Lion. The match with Vignal was arranged because George Slauson, then the 18.2 Balkline champion, had laughed off my challenge, telling me to get a reputation. Vignal was the world's 18.1 Balkline champion and and all he required was a 500 side bet to make the match. My father went to all his friends and borrowed the money. My mom mended every shirt I had, and I got the cheapest steamship fare I could. We met in the ballroom of the Grand Hotel, and the place was jammed with the cream of Paris society. I chewed gum to keep my teeth from chattering, and I couldn't stop my knees from knocking. Then, just before the match came up, a big fellow came over through the crowd, pulled me aside, and said, "Sonny, I'm an American. Put this money in your pocket, win or lose. You're sailing home in style, but you're not going to lose. I'm betting every frog in this room. Go out there and whip his bum." It wasn't until I watched a baseball game in Brooklyn 40 years later that I heard that expression repeated. It was just what I needed. I whipped the bum. So I'd like to give a special shout out to Sensei Domino 15. And he's got some really great stuff. I really do enjoy his collection and what he brings to the table here on YouTube. And, if there's something that he doesn't know, he's going to figure it out. He's going to do research on it. And I think one of the coolest things I think YouTubers can do who collect cards is share information and share their sets and their cards because it gives ideas to other collectors of what is out there. I've been in this hobby for a long time, and I still haven't seen everything out there. And Sensei Domino 15 has cards that I've actually never seen before. And from that, I want to learn more about the cards that he's showing and other YouTubers as well. Uh, th- that's one of the great things about the hobby too. You never know what you're going to see or what you're going to learn. And I'm here on YouTube because I want to learn, and I also want to show off some amazing cards that might inspire other people to collect as well. Because at one point in time, I was a rookie vintage card collector as well, and I've seen some amazing cards that I wanted to add to my collection that some of my friends might have had, or cards that I've seen in other ways, and it's one of the ways you can build a great collection just by sight and to see what other people have, because the thing is that you never know what might inspire somebody, and it doesn't have to be a card uh, per se. It could be a good book, it could be a movie. You never know. But the thing is if you show your collection out there, it could inspire other people to either collect cards or to get involved with whatever it is that is behind the scenes, if you will. And I've heard that, not to get too much off the subject here, but I've heard over the years that because people have seen Star Trek now, and it's been a 50-year program, that they got into the STEM fields, science or propulsion or something technology related, uh, because they saw that show, Star Trek. And, uh, I walked into a card store when I was in the fourth grade and I saw all these vintage cards. And my teacher wanted us to learn more about math and problem solving skills. So that's where she took us. Um, and that kind of opened the door for me to want to learn more about tobacco cards and the ball players on it, and it just kind of sent me off into a journey that I never knew this is where I would end up, being a writer and investigative journalist, and kind of like now I'm paying it forward, if you will, and trying to help other collectors uh, build a collection that they could be proud of, or maybe learn something that they didn't before that has something to do with the cards themselves or what's behind the cards. And so that's really kind of like why I do what I do here, not just to show off cards like this, but this is a sport that you guys can learn. Anybody can learn this sport. All it takes is practice, and you're gonna get practice if you do this long enough. Uh, for me, I'm not really interested if I'm good at pool or billiards. It's just the fun of the sport. I think it's very fun. I have a great time when I do it, and I'll continue to play billiards as long as I can. And so, with that, guys, thank you very much. I greatly appreciate you stopping by and checking out my video as always. And like and subscribe. And again, if you guys have any comments below, I always enjoy hearing what you guys have to say anyway. And I try my best to respond to your comments. Again, it's been a wild ride here on YouTube, and it wouldn't be uh, that way if it wasn't for you guys. So thank you very much. I greatly appreciate it. Until the next time, I will talk to you guys later. Bye.